Hi, everybody. Welcome to our free webinar called My Career Superpower. I am so excited to do this little session with you today. This is a great reminder, a time to shut off your email and your notifications because we're really going to focus on you. This is exactly what you would experience if you were in one-on-one coaching with me. And you're already going to have some homework after this session, so it's a really good idea to focus. Don't forget to grab a pen and paper, and if you can, I would recommend that you write. So even if you just have some sticky notes, that's totally fine. You might need like 10 of them, but that's totally fine because there is a connection between the hand and the brain, and just trust me and I'll take you through this exercise. We actually have someone who I'll introduce a little later that I'm going to take through the exercise so you can see exactly how it's done. Make sure that you don't veer off the road. And so thank you for being here, and we're going to get started. I just want to check. It looks like we're recording. So what do you know? Okay, there we go. I don't even have an agenda slide because our agenda is two things. One, I'm going to debunk a common myth about career, and then we're going to go into the superpower exercise. Whoops. Okay, so for those of you that don't know me, my name is Brenda Abdilla. I am an executive and career coach. I work with two kinds of people. Leaders that are already seated in a career, already successful, but need to kind of up-level their leadership for some reason, because of change usually. And then I work with high-level professionals who are strongly considering career change. So that's my thing. Okay, so a career myth, this is kind of all wrapped into one. These are all essentially the same thing, and that's about the whole concept of passion and purpose in our career. Now, if you're already established and very happy and thriving in your professional work, you can probably talk very easy about your passion and even your purpose. But if you're in question mode in your career, or you're looking for a new career, or seeking to change or get promoted, the whole passion topic is really confusing and not very helpful. Another thing that people tell us is, monetize your passion. Well, for example, I am a cook. I am a gourmet cook. I love cooking. If there was an amateur cooking contest, I would win that contest. But what does that really have to do with executive coaching? It doesn't really serve me at all. It definitely does not help me talk about what I do, which is what today's session is really about. Changing how you think about your strengths and how you talk about your strengths. So I do want to talk about purpose because I don't want to discourage you from your spiritual purpose. That's a wonderful avenue. So for example, my purpose is to empower others. But again, that really speaks to me. It doesn't really have a ton of meaning when you hear it, right? So if you're in that, if you're having career anxiety or having some issues or not enjoying your work, just set aside the idea, even though our culture loves to talk about what are you passionate about? Just do that. Not helpful. So we're just going to set that aside for now. So for a while, we're just going to set aside the whole idea of find your passion and your success will follow you. Not helpful. Okay, so now I want you to really start thinking about yourself. I want you to kind of take a deep breath and get in you mode. So this is where you're, and we're not going to come up with an elevator pitch. First of all, just the word pitch just gives me the willies. So no offense if your name is Willie. I don't know where that term came from. But we're trying to come up with an authentic way for you to talk about yourself. And that is what the Career Superpower is all about. So I want you to just really focus on you for the time being. So another way of talking about superpower, since the term superpower has gotten very popular, and it's probably not a good idea to use it in an interview setting unless they ask you what your superpower is. but we're going to use Brenda's definition of a superpower today. So my whole approach. But really, we're figuring out what your strengths are, what's unique about your approach. So that's where we're heading. So first, I want to introduce our person that is going to let me take her through the superpower exercise so that you can know and do it really yours at the same time. So Laura, if you would like to unmute.
There we go. Hi.
Yay! Hi, Laura. Okay, so Laura, as I take you through this exercise, one of the things I really want you to focus on is don't think about any of the branding and marketing work that you've done. I want you to kind of let that go, okay? All right, so Laura Bean, what is your current title? How would you describe your current title?
I am a digital marketing strategic partner.
Okay, so digital marketing partner. And yeah, she is. She's the one who created this PowerPoint. She built my website. So every sexy thing that you see me do is because of Laura. However, we've never really talked about Laura's career before in all of these years that we're working together. Okay, for everybody else, I know you might be struggling right now because you don't want to think about your current title. Don't get hung up on the title. Trust the exercise, it will still work. If we were to talk to Oprah right now, she could use her title of newscaster, of TV mogul, of philanthropist, of talk show host. Any of it would work. It doesn't matter. But I do want you to pick a title that's real, not an aspirational title. This needs to be a real exercise, not something that you hope and imagine. So pick that title, stick with it, don't overthink it. All right, so for Laura, I'm gonna shorten it to digital marketing partner. Now, what I want you to do, everybody, including Laura, I want you to put yourself in a room in your imagination. In Laura's case, it's going to be with 100 other digital marketing partners. Now, it's not a competition, but I want you to put yourself in that room and then tell me, what is the first reason that comes to your mind that you just pop to the front of the line when you're in that room? Laura?
I would say my authenticity. I'm very real and direct to the point.
Okay, great. So Laura's, and I'm going to keep track of Laura's because it's part of the exercise. Everybody else should be writing the first one that came to your mind. So now I'm going to ask Laura, what does it look like when you're authentic and direct? Give me a short statement about what that looks like when you're doing it.
What that looks like when I'm being straightforward.
Yeah.
Sometimes uncomfortable, I would say, when I tell people straight up, the truth, that can be a little awkward, I think.
Okay, so you're telling, so what we're seeing when you're doing that is you're telling the truth. What else are we seeing? What does it look like when you're doing it?
It looks like genuine and real.
Excellent. Now,
and direct.
And everybody else should, what were you going to say?
And direct.
And direct, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So now I want you to give me a real example without breaking confidentiality.
Sure.
You can use me as an example because God knows you've had to be authentic and direct with me. Give me a real example of when this attribute of being authentic and direct was very useful in your work.
Oh, I think it happens every single day when I have to tell people, I guess an example would be somebody comes to me with an idea to promote their business and they want to send out, let's say, an email real quick to everybody about something that another organization is promoting for a nonprofit. I want to send this out real quick. And I'm like, well, we already have something going out. Let's just include that and be more real and authentic in our regular things that we send out to our clients. So I guess that's a really good example. They'll come
Yeah,
to me
so
with
it's like a way of saying
prompt.
no.
Yeah, or just another way of looking at it, you know,
Yeah.
like they
Okay,
didn't see
another
that, so
perspective.
I come at them like, here's a better, real, authentic way of doing it.
Okay, good. All right, so everybody else, if you haven't already jotted down a story that exemplifies the first attribute you mentioned, you can just write down a little hint and you can think about and write out the story later. Okay, Laura, go back to the room of 100 people. What's the second reason that you just popped to the front of the line?
I would say dependability and reliability, because there's a lot of people in this, you know, industry that are not reliable or dependable.
Yes, and you are uber dependable and reliable. So
Yeah.
for everybody else listening, this doesn't have to be some sexy, verbally fancy term. We want real conversational terminology here. Authentic and direct is conversational. Dependable and reliable is absolutely conversational. So what does that look like when you're being dependable and reliable, Laura?
I show up when I say I'm going to be there. Like today, I'm here, I'm on time, I'm ready to go. And Brenda doesn't have to worry about that. You know, she knows I'll be on the other end. There's no question. Sometimes that can be terrifying for people when they depend on someone and they don't know if that person's really going to show up all the time.
Okay,
So I think that's
fantastic.
valuable to my clients that I'm there.
Absolutely. So, and you gave us both
Yeah,
both
real
things we
life.
needed in that
Yeah.
you gave us what it looks like when you do it, but then a story and example, like you showing up for me today. And for
Yeah.
everybody else, you should also know that she made me a video of all the steps to go through to make sure that you had a good experience today behind the scenes, even though I screwed up a couple little things. But I think it's important for me to appear very human. Okay, third reason, Laura.
Well, I think you kind of helped lead into that, and that's the forward thinking ahead. Somebody that is already thinking 2 steps ahead to be your strategic partner. So that perfect example is thinking ahead, saying, hey, maybe I should record a quick video for Brenda ahead of time, making sure she's got all the steps right for her Zoom presentation. She didn't ask me for it. I just went ahead and took initiative and stepped up where I can and offer support.
Fantastic. So again, perfect, because you gave us both the item as well as what it looks like when you do it, and then an example. So everybody else should have 3 at least framed in your notes now. And you're going to come back after this session and fix it anyway. So or not fix it, but you're going to add to it. Okay, fourth and final one, Laura.
Oh, fourth and final one that makes me unique in this group of people.
Group of people that do digital strategy.
Digital marketing strategies. Yeah, this is going to be hard. I would also say affordable.
I was going to say your pricing, because you're so passionate about people not being overcharged.
Correct. Yeah. I think in this industry, there's a lot of people with the same knowledge and expertise as I have, and they overcharge for it. And that sets people's expectations up even higher. And then they can't deliver or meet those expectations that match the value of the service. So I think that's super important, is making sure that my value, even though people tell me raise your rates, you can charge more, I want to help more than I want to charge more. I think.
Right.
So for me, it's about working with the right clients, and it's not about overcharging or getting, I want to get paid for my work, but at the same time, I want to enjoy the people that I work with. Yeah.
You're not a nonprofit, but you're affordable. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone should have 4 now. So we are building the package that is called your superpower. So now I have a couple more questions that are going to help us refine Laura's uniqueness even more, and yours. So Laura, I want you to picture yourself again in that room of digital strategists. And I want you to think about a problem that, not that we love problems, nobody loves problems, but I want you to think a problem that arises that makes everybody else in that room kind of bristle, but you're like, I got this.
Okay, I already know.
Okay, good. What's the problem you love to solve?
Well, I think in that room, a lot of people, including myself, it's when the website breaks. So that's something that I deal with a lot. And I even have colleagues that have that same thing. They don't even want to touch it. When the website breaks, they come to me, they're like, help us fix it. So I think that's one of my, I mean, it's kind of weird,
No,
but I do like fixing those problems because I kind of like coming out the hero. I'm like, oh, that's fixed, it's done.
But you also have a certain calm when it happens, right?
Yeah.
Because it does happen. So for
Yeah.
everybody else working on their own, this is such an important place to ponder. Think about the room filled, regardless of title, think about the room filled with people who do what you do. And think about the problem that they don't want to deal with, that you, for some reason, just happen to be very good at dealing with. If I line up 100 career coaches and somebody says, okay, who wants to deal with super stressed out 40-plus-year-olds who are highly leveraged, who need to make a ton of money, and who have been doing something very specific for 15 or 20 years but want to change career? I do. Right? That's my freaky little thing that I like to deal with. If you think about our real lives, our real work lives in this day and age, problems are abound. They are abundant. And so if you're working in a setting where the problem you have to deal with most frequently is something that you loathe, that is totally contrary to your values or your wiring, that's a big heads up for you. But if conversely, you're working in an area where you don't invite problems, but you're kind of good at this problem nobody else wants to solve, that's leverage. Okay, let's move on. Laura, what was your family role as a kid? What did your family look to you informally to provide?
You know, that's a tough one, but I would say my organizational skills.
Okay.
So being organized. So when the refrigerator, the pantry needed to be organized, I'm your gal.
Okay, good. That's great. And I'm glad you didn't overthink it, because we're not trying to do therapy here. I mean, we all have stories that we can tell about our childhood, but it's important to kind of think about, what was your unspoken role in your family? Was it peacekeeper? Was it diplomat? Was it humorous relief? What was it? Comic relief? Okay, excellent. Last question to put together your superpower. What's your secret weapon? This is something that you've always been good at, but you don't really advertise. So I'll give you an example. Mine is speed. I'm really fast. But you don't really want to say, oh, hire me as your coach because I'm really fast. That's kind of creepy, but I am fast. Like, it took me 30 minutes to get ready for my wedding. I do everything fast. I'm very fast. So that's my secret weapon, is that I'm fast. What's yours, Laura?
Can I take yours? I'm like, yes. I'm super fast. Yes. That's another thing. Yeah, I'm like, if I'm quick at replying to emails and getting back to people, but I would say if I was going to adjust it, well, I don't know. I can't say communication is my superpower because I feel lousy at that.
Then definitely don't say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, some clients have said their intuition. Some clients have said their humor. Some clients have even said their gender.
Actually, the one thing I think I don't advertise that makes all of my skills really good is my ability to remember things. I think that would be it. Yeah.
Excellent. Memory. Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah. Right. And again, I mean, that fits the litmus test of something you really wouldn't advertise.
Right.
You're not going to say on your website, hire me because I have a great memory.
Yeah.
But yet it's something that serves you all the time, right?
Right. I don't drop the balls because I have them all. You know, I can remember what needs to be done. It's in the brain somewhere and on
Okay,
paper.
so I just want to review, and Laura, you might jot down just these key points. Your career superpower is comprised of each of the 6 points that we've talked about. So your authenticity and directness, your dependability and reliability, your forward thinkingness, your affordability, your organizational skills, and your mental memory. So everyone else should also have 6 captions as well. So now what I want everybody to do, I want you to just draw a horizontal line on a piece of paper, like you see here, and like you see on the screen. So I want you to think a little bit about the history of you getting to use or not getting to use your superpower. So we're going to do a couple with Laura, and then one of your assignments will be to, for everybody else, to plot all of your roles and your career history in this manner. So Laura, tell me a time, and usually for most of us, it's not like a job. We may have been in a role for 10 years, but only really got to use our superpower for 2 months during a certain project. That's perfectly normal. But Laura, tell me a phase when you got to use your career superpower the most and how high it went on the scale or how high it goes.
I mean, I feel like now is
Okay.
the time in which my career's changed and pivoted, where I get to use all of that.
Right.
I'm affordable, dependable,
Yeah,
direct,
all of it.
and it's not hurting me. Whereas in the past, some of those things have.
Okay, good. So tell me how high you go now. Do you go to a 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me the lowest you've ever gone as far as not being valued, not getting to use your career superpower, and how low you went and what was that role?
I would say probably it was a long time ago. I would say a 1. I didn't get to use any of my superpower.
And what were you doing?
I was doing bookkeeping and not remotely and not for a company that really liked to do things the right way. So I felt like it was on a sinking ship, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it was the upper management was just, I mean, it made no sense for me to drive to, an hour out of my way every single day to do the bookkeeping. So,
Yes.
and it wasn't something I enjoyed doing, and they didn't value my opinions. And yeah, it was none of it. It was
Okay,
none.
good.
Yeah.
Give us another example of a time, maybe that's not right now, but that you got to really start to experiment using your career superpower.
Um, hmm. I would say working with one of the nonprofits that I work with, it really, super affordable. I'm always there because I really am passionate about the nonprofit that I'm helping. And just, she values everything. I mean, there's been times she comes straight to me saying, hey, somebody wants to sell me this service that I can easily provide to her. And she trusts me enough to come to me first than outsourcing it. So yeah, excellent. I would say that.
Okay, good. Fantastic. So for everybody else, you should have at least 2 points plotted on your horizontal line. And then later, I want you to go back and think of every time that you had a low point and why that was. Think about who your boss was, what the project was. Every time that you've had a high point, for most of us, for most of you out there in corporate America, it's going to be certain projects, certain phases before the acquisition, after the acquisition. I want you to really delineate that so that you have an idea as you consider being promoted, taking on new work, starting your own business, taking another job. You need to keep this idea in mind of how much you're going to get to use your superpower. So much better advice than follow your passion and you'll never work another day in your life is to really use your strengths. People who figure out what their strengths are and use them end up earning more, being happier, being more engaged, lasting longer, all of the benefits. But it is worth that exploration. So what about you? How can this help you talk about yourself and your unique approach? So we are now going to kill the idea of the elevator pitch. Instead, you are going to take your career superpower items that you came up with today and write more, give more examples. Actually, I would say come up with data to support. So if I were working with Laura, I would say, when we talk about dependability and reliability, she can give some stats and some data. She can show, which I'm sure she does on her website, what websites she's already done. That's data. If you are results oriented or people focused or whatever you came up with, what is some proof and some data? Maybe your low attrition rate or how many hires you had to complete, but come up with some specifics for each of those. If you take the time now, like 30 more minutes, to really develop this body of work, you can use it in a number of ways. Let's say that you're fortunate enough to be interviewed, maybe for a company newsletter, or you are being interviewed for a new role, or you're being interviewed or presenting to get promoted. All of this can turn into a way that you are talking about yourself in a very authentic and real way. And the truth is, if your superpower does not match the company where you're applying, it's not a fit. So instead of trying to bend yourself to fit to what they want, be yourself, present your authentic self. And if it's a fit, it will become very evident rather than you having to twist yourself in knots to become something in a culture where you're not going to fit anyway. So I think about Quentin Tarantino. I mean, there's nobody who's more aligned with their superpower than him as a director, I think. So before I bid you adieu, I do want to remind you that you can go to my website, which is managementmomentum.net, and you can download a bunch of free resources. We have free assessments. We have a free ebook, but you can also just click the link, the book link, and buy my new book because it's on sale for 99 cents. Outsmarting Crazy Town has the Career Superpower exercise in it, as well as many others that will help you with your career. So I want to just thank you very much for attending today. I absolutely love being with you, and I hope that you found it useful. Thanks. Have a great day.